There's something you've been doing your entire life that's been shaping your reality without you even realizing it. It's not your actions, not your thoughts, and not even your beliefs. It's the way you observe. The truth is, most people are caught in a loop, not because life is difficult, but because they've been looking at it from the same angle for far too long. Yet here's what almost no one tells you. Change your angle, and you change everything. Imagine this: two people walk into the exact same room. Same light, same temperature, same people, same objects. One of them sees opportunity, the other sees danger. One feels inspired, the other feels small. One feels expansion, the other feels contraction. It's the same room, but completely different realities. Not because of what's there, but because of the way each person is observing it. Now here's where things start to get wild. Quantum physics says that's not just a metaphor, it's literal. Your perception, your attention isn't passive. It's active, creative, energetic. And the longer you keep observing through the same lens, the more the universe reshapes itself to match that exact frequency. That's why your life might feel like a repeating pattern, a loop you can't name, but deeply sense, because you've been observing reality from the same state of being. And since reality mirrors that state back to you, the loop keeps repeating. But that loop isn't permanent. Today, you're going to learn how to break it not by force, but by shifting the way you observe everything. We were taught that the world is objective, that what we see is what's real, that matter is primary, and consciousness is just a byproduct. But quantum physics shattered that illusion. Let this sink in. At every moment, the world around you isn't fixed. It's not final. It's not solid. It's probable. The building blocks of your reality particles exist in a state of possibility. They don't decide what they are until something observes them. That's not science fiction. That's the observer effect. And it means reality doesn't exist independently of you. It materializes through you. But there's a twist. You're always observing even when you're not aware of it. Every reaction, every assumption, every emotional echo from your past, they're all forms of observation. Those unconscious observations keep collapsing versions of reality into your timeline over and over again. You think you're watching reality, but what if reality is actually watching you? Not in a paranoid way, but in a way that reveals something deeper. Reality is mirroring back the version of yourself. You keep observing emotionally, energetically, consciously. So let me ask you, how often do you look at life expecting disappointment? How many times have you looked in the mirror, searching for what's wrong? How often do you check your phone, your bank account, your messages? Not with trust, but with doubt. That's observation. And it matters not just spiritually or psychologically, but on a quantum level. Because what you observe as real becomes the version of reality that solidifies around you. Here's what keeps most people stuck. They try to think positive, visualize success, or even manifest what they want. But deep down, they're still observing through the lens of fear, lack, and old programming. So even when they dream big, their observation remains rooted in an old identity, and the universe responds accordingly. You can't step into a new life while still seeing through the eyes of your old self. What happens when you observe differently? That's what this is all about. There's a version of reality you haven't seen yet. Not because it doesn't exist, but because you haven't looked from the frequency that reveals it. And the moment you do, the world bends. But I'm not just going to tell you that you're going to feel it. In the next part, we'll break down exactly how your focus shapes form. You'll understand why observing with intention isn't just a mindset shift, it's a timeline shift. So stay with me. This isn't motivation. This is quantum architecture. You're about to remember how to build. If this already stirs something inside you, comment below. I choose to observe differently. Let that be your first shift, your first declaration. Because it's not just a comment, it's a command to the field. And the field is always listening. You've been told to focus on what matters, but no one explained what your focus actually does. Focus isn't just attention, it's activation. And once you understand what your focus is truly doing to the quantum field, you'll never look at your thoughts or your life the same way again. Focus is frequency. Let's break this down. Your focus isn't a simple mental flashlight, it's an energetic tuner. When you focus on something, a thought, a fear, a dream, you're sending out a signal. That signal vibrates, and the quantum field responds not to what you want, but to what you're tuned into. Focus is the code. Reality is the screen. What appears on that screen depends entirely on what you keep feeding your attention to. That's why two people can live completely different experiences in the same world. They're not watching the same version of it. They're not tuned to the same frequency. They're not observing from the same internal world. Are you aware of the illusion of neutrality? Here's the trap. Most people think they're just watching life happen. But in truth, they're not observing, they're reinforcing. They focus on what's missing and call it being realistic. They focus on what could go wrong and call it preparation. They focus on the past and call it memory. But in quantum terms, every focus is a command, a frequency, a magnet. You're not simply seeing, you're selecting. So ask yourself, what am I selecting on repeat? What thoughts am I zooming into without even noticing? What timeline have I been locking into just by the way I observe? Because if you're focusing from fear, you collapse a timeline that matches fear. If you're focusing from lack, you collapse one that keeps feeding you more reasons to feel lack. But here's the key, you can change that instantly. Right now, this very moment, you could stop and redirect your focus fully into the version of life that feels aligned, empowering, and expansive. You could focus on peace. You could focus on joy. You could focus on the frequency of already having what you've been asking for. The moment you do, your inner state shifts, not because something outside changed, but because you changed what you were observing within. And that shift is the beginning of a new signal, a new timeline, a new experience. Science confirms this. Dr. Joe Dispenza studied thousands of brain scans from people who intentionally shifted their focus, and the results were stunning. When someone focused on a new future with clarity, emotion, and intention, their brain began firing as if that future was happening now. The body reacted chemically, the nervous system regulated, and the energetic field expanded. Why? Because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a real event and an observed one when the focus is strong enough, and neither does the universe. From passive to creative, let that truth sink in. What you focus on, you feed. What you feed, you feel. What you feel, you become. And what you become determines your reality. So the question isn't, what do I want? The real question is, what am I constantly focusing on? Because your focus isn't just reacting to reality, it's reprogramming it. It's like a sacred lens that either magnifies what you don't want or projects what you're ready to live. Most people use their focus like a reflex. They scan for problems, replay the past, anticipate pain. But what happens when you start using focus like a sacred instrument? When you train it direct, it elevates it. You stop recycling old timelines and start collapsing new ones. You stop watching life through inherited programs and start broadcasting from your authentic frequency. In the next part, you'll discover a truth that flips manifestation on its head. You've been taught that desire is the key, but the quantum doesn't respond to what you desire. It responds to what you observe as already real. And this might sting a little, but it's the truth that sets everything in motion. You don't get what you want. You get what you observe. Let that land for a moment. Right now, you might be doing everything right. Affirmations, meditation, journaling, visualization. But if your observation is still wired to lack, to fear, to I don't have it yet, then that's the version of reality the universe keeps collapsing around you. Not because you're unworthy, not because it's not your time, but because your focus still belongs to the old frequency. Here's the hard truth: most people desire abundance, but observe their bank account with anxiety. They want love, but observe their reflection with criticism. They dream of freedom, but observe their life like it's a prison. That mismatch, that's the loop. That's what keeps your desired timeline just out of reach, because you're trying to create a future while energetically observing your past. The field doesn't hear your desire, it feels your signal. Let's ground this in quantum truth, the energy field that surrounds you. The intelligent web of potential doesn't speak English, it speaks frequency. So when you want something but observe from doubt, your signal says it's not here, and the field reflects that exact message back. But when you observe your vision with certainty, gratitude, and the emotion of this is already mine, the field starts bending. It's not about how badly you want it, it's about how real it feels when you observe it. This is how observation creates alignment. Here's an example. Let's say you're visualizing financial abundance. In the old pattern, you see money in your mind, but then you open your banking app and feel panic. You check your bills, you worry, you react. That's not visualization, that's emotional conflict. The result: you collapse a timeline that matches the fear, not the vision. In the new pattern, you see the money in your mind, and when you look at your bank account, you observe it differently. You tell yourself, this is temporary. It's just a snapshot. The shift is already happening. You hold the feeling of abundance not because the numbers changed, but because you did. That kind of observation, that's power. That's alignment. That's how timelines shift. Most people miss this. Observation isn't just what you look at, it's what you believe when you look. If your belief says, I'm not there yet, things never work out for me. This isn't real until I see proof. Then your observation is rooted in waiting. And waiting is a frequency. It generates more waiting. You get trapped in a loop where you try to manifest, but nothing sticks. Not because your desire is wrong, but because your observer is out of sync with the version of you who already has it. Neville Goddard once said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But because when you observe from the end, from the version of you that already has it, you collapse that timeline. But when you observe from the gap, from the energy of it's not here yet, you keep the desire stuck in potential. The faster you observe as if it's real, the faster it becomes real. Because reality doesn't move when you chase it, moves when you embody. Experiment observe differently for 24 hours. Let's make it practical. For the next day, every time you think about something you want, observe it as if it's already yours. When fear or doubt starts to rise, observe it like an old friend passing through. Not as truth. Every time you look at your life shift, your lens, Ask yourself, what would the version of me who already has it see right now? Try it. You'll feel the energy shift, and so will the field around you. Now you're ready for the next step, not just how to observe differently, but how to use that observation to shift your entire timeline. In the next few minutes, you'll understand the mechanics of collapsing a new version of reality through one of the most powerful practices few people have ever been taught. And once you feel it in your body, you'll never observe the same way again. Here's the truth you've been observing on autopilot from fear, from doubt, from old identity, and your reality. It's simply been echoing that back, but now you know. Observation isn't just how you see the world, it's how you select the version of it you live in. So the real question becomes, how do you observe differently in a way that actually shifts your timeline? You can't shift what you aren't aware of. So first pause, scan your focus. Ask yourself, where does my mind go when I'm not paying attention? What reality am I rehearsing when I'm on autopilot? Do I look at life expecting magic or just maintenance because the way you habitually observe is the reality? You habitually collapse. Start noticing your emotional reflexes. When a bill arrives, what do you feel? When you think about your future, what images come up? When you're alone, what stories replay in your mind? That awareness is the doorway because you can't change the frequency until you stop blending with it. Once you see it, you can disrupt it. Not by fighting it, but by choosing something else intentionally. Try this simple practice. When you feel an old fear rising, say out loud, "That's not me anymore." When you catch yourself imagining the worst-case scenario, interrupt it with, "Let's play a better movie." When you feel your energy sinking into the old version of you shift your posture, your breath, your tone. It might seem small, but it's massive. Each time you disrupt the old signal, you weaken that neural path and create space for something new. And space is all the field needs to reorganize itself. Now comes the jump. Close your eyes and imagine the version of you who already lives in abundance, the one who is deeply loved, the one who walks through life with confidence, power, and peace. Ask yourself, how do they walk? How do they speak? What do they no longer worry about? What do they focus on with ease? Here's the key: observe life from their perspective, not yours. It's not pretending, it's permission. Because that version of you already exists in the quantum field. The moment you observe from their state, you begin collapsing their timeline, not someday, but now. Try this every morning before the world gets noisy. Sit in stillness. Let your identity fade. No name, no story, no past. Visualize the version of you who's already living the life you desire. Feel their energy. Now, observe the world through their eyes. Imagine picking up your phone, walking through your home, talking to someone, but from this frequency. Hold that for 3 minutes. That act of observation isn't just mental, it's vibrational. It shifts your signal, realigns your field, and tells the universe, this is the me I'm choosing now. Remember, you don't have to fight your current reality. You only need to observe another one long enough for it to take form. Your life isn't stuck. It's just tuned to a signal you forgot you could change. But now you're remembering. And the next time fear rises, or doubt whispers, or the old story tries to pull you back, you'll smile and say, that's the old timeline trying to stay alive. But I'm done observing that. You've been living inside a story written long before you realized you had a pen in your hand. And most of that script, you didn't write it. It was installed by family, by culture, by trauma, by repetition. without even realizing it. You've been observing life through the eyes of that old character, repeating scenes. You never chose reacting to narratives. You never agreed to reliving patterns that feel familiar, but false. But now you're waking up in the middle of the movie. You're remembering something powerful. You're not just the actor. You're the writer, and the script is yours to rewrite. Your identity is the lens that observes. Let's go deeper. The story you tell yourself about who you are, that's the filter through which you experience the world. And as you've learned, what you observe becomes real. So if your identity says, "I'm not ready, I always mess things up, I don't deserve more, this is just who I am," that becomes the lens that collapses your reality. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar. The universe doesn't give you truth. It gives you confirmation of your dominant observation. You've been repeating, not creating. Here's what most people don't realize. They wake up every day and energetically rehearse the past. They feel the same emotions, tell themselves the same stories, expect the same kind of day, and then wonder why nothing changes. It's not because they don't want more. It's because they're still being the version of themselves that created this version of life. And the quantum field simply responds faithfully, neutrally, precisely. Same identity, same lens, same script, same movie. The moment you decide to rewrite everything, shifts. You don't have to fix your entire life or control every detail. You only need to change the observer. Because once your internal storyteller changes, your outer reality has no choice but to adapt. Let me ask you, who is the version of you that no longer carries that wound? Who is the version of you that doesn't apologize for shining? Who is the one that no longer expects struggle? That version isn't far away. They're not somewhere in the future. They already exist right here in the field, waiting for your focus. And the moment you begin observing from their eyes, you start to become them. Here's the script break practice. Next time you feel yourself reacting like the old you, stop. Close your eyes and ask, who is observing this reaction right now? And what story is it reinforcing? Then ask, what would the next version of me observe instead? That small moment of awareness is how you reclaim the pen. That's how you stop replaying the same role and start rewriting the character. Your identity isn't fixed. It's fluid, it's fractal, and it flows in the direction of your focused attention. Now here's the truth that changes everything. You were never broken. You were just observing yourself through a distorted lens. And when you shift that lens, everything rearranges. Your thoughts soften. Your energy expands. Your nervous system relaxes. Your path clears. Because the script you've been living isn't carved in stone. It's written in light, in vibration, in choice. Every new observation from a higher version of you writes a new line in your story. Now that you've reclaimed the pen, it's time to rewrite your frequency. Because even with a new story, if your body still holds the energy of the old one, you'll keep attracting echoes from the past. So how do you tune your energy so deeply to a new reality that it becomes effortless? You're about to see what happens when your focus becomes alignment, when your vibration becomes declaration, when your energy becomes your anchor. You've learned how powerful your focus truly is, not as a thought, but as a force. Because what you observe, you activate, and what you activate, you become. This isn't poetry or philosophy, it's the physics of consciousness. Now you understand, your focus isn't just shaping your reality, it's shaping your identity. You're not just watching life, you're becoming what you watch. Every day, you're surrounded by infinite versions of reality, where you're empowered and where you're limited and where you're thriving and where you're merely surviving. And your focus is the selector, the tuner, the key. The more you focus on peace, the more peaceful you become. The more you focus on expansion, the more your energy stretches. The more you focus on what's missing, the more you become the version of you who feels incomplete. This isn't punishment, it's mechanics. Your observation shapes your state, and your state shapes your world. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research shows that your biology doesn't determine your life, your perception does. Every time you observe from fear, your body shifts into stress. Every time you observe from love, your cells move into coherence. And here's the wild part. Your brain literally rewires itself to match what you continuously observe. Neuroplasticity, quantum, feedback, vibrational mirroring. Whatever name you give it, the outcome is the same. You are becoming the version of yourself that your focus keeps feeding. So the real question isn't, what do I want? It's who am I willing to become through observation? Because every time you consciously choose to observe from your highest state, you step into alignment with that version of you. Now let's anchor the new you. Here's a simple but powerful practice, the focus loop method. Morning, before you check your phone, your tasks, or the news, pause and ask, what reality am I choosing to observe today? Midday, set a reminder on your phone. When it goes off, close your eyes and say, I return to the version of me I'm becoming. Evening, before sleep, replay the moments when you observed with intention. Feel gratitude for the shift, and let that energy sink into your body. The more you do this, the more that version of you becomes the default, not through effort, but through repetition. This is the shift. You don't have to try harder. You don't have to force the universe to respond. You simply have to observe from the identity that aligns with your highest timeline, consistently, clearly, powerfully. Because when your observation becomes a declaration, the field responds. When your focus stabilizes, your new reality becomes inevitable. You are not a victim of what you see. You are not trapped in a story you didn't write. You're not here to endlessly react to the world around you. You are the observer. You are the selector. You are the creator. What you observe becomes your frequency, and your frequency becomes your world. So pause, look around, feel this moment fully, and ask yourself, what am I ready to observe into being? What am I ready to become? Starting now, because this isn't the end of a video, it's the beginning of your next reality.